Anthills of the Savannah is a 1987 novel by Nigerian writer Chinua Achebe. It was his fifth novel, first published in the United Kingdom 21 years after Achebe's previous one, A Man of the People in 1966, and was credited with having revived his reputation in Britain. A finalist for the 1987 Booker Prize for Fiction, Anthills of the Savannah has been described as the most important novel to come out of Africa in the 1980s. Critics praised the novel upon its release. Chinua Achebe TNWTB Listen, the 16th of November 1930 the 21st of March 2013, was a Nigerian novelist, poet, and critic who is regarded as the dominant figure of modern African literature. His first novel and magnum opus, Things Fall Apart 1958, occupies a pivotal place in African literature and remains the most widely studied, translated, and read African novel. Along with Things Fall Apart, his No Longer at Ease 1960 and Arrow of God 1964 complete the so-called African trilogy. Later novels include A Man of the People 1966 and Anthills of the Savannah 1987. He is often referred to as the father of African literature, although he vigorously rejected the characterization. Anthills of the Savannah takes place in the imaginary West African country of Kangan, where a Sandhurst-trained officer, identified only as Sam and known as His Excellency, has taken power following a military coup. Achebe describes the political situation through the experiences of three friends: Chris Oriko, the government's commissioner for information; Beatrice Oko, an official in the Ministry of Finance and girlfriend of Chris; and Ikem Osodi, a newspaper editor critical of the regime. Other characters include Elua, Ikem's girlfriend, and Major Samsonite Osai, a military official known for stapling hands with a Samsonite stapler. Tensions escalate through the novel, culminating in the assassination of Ikem by the regime, the toppling and death of Sam, and finally the murder of Chris. The book ends with a non-traditional naming ceremony for Elua and Ikem's month-old daughter, organized by Beatrice. Summary. The novel Anthills of the Savannah is a socio-political commentary set in the fictitious nation of Kangan. The story begins with the readers being treated to an inside look into a presidential cabinet meeting. It is revealed that the country has had a shaky 2 years of existence, having coming from a chaotic political upheaval, ousting a dictator from the highest office of the land. The story revolves around three characters: Sam, Chris Oriko, and Ikem Osodi. The three were childhood friends and have now come into power, fulfilling crucial responsibilities within their society. Sam is the de facto leader, the president of the Republic of Kangan. Chris is the head of the Information Ministry. Ikem is the editor-in-chief of the National Gazette, a widely circulated government-controlled newspaper. Despite their common origins and deep ties, the three are vastly different in their political leanings and personal temperaments. Sam is a hard, stern man, a career soldier. He has come into power, but it is clear that he does not have his people's best interests in mind. To make matters worse, he has steadily become increasingly paranoid over time, and his two friends realize that he is becoming another dictator himself. Ikem, on the other hand, is the polar opposite of Sam. He is a scholarly fellow with an appreciation for art and culture. He is quickly becoming Sam's most vocal critic, voicing out his opinions regarding the need to make several government reforms. Chris is the most level-headed of the three and often plays the role of arbitrator between the Sam and Ikem. Ikem and Chris were critical to Sam's success as an elected official, but with matters taking a turn for the worse, both men come to regret their involvement and as such seek to restrain Sam by leveraging their positions. Sam, in his desire to hang on to his power, decides that he wants to become president for life, a position unheard of in their nation's history. This move requires a nationwide plebiscite, but Abazan, one of the regions in Kangan, rejects the notion of putting Sam in power for the rest of his biological life. In response to their refusal, he deprives the region of his support during a drought in the hopes that this would break their spirit. His embargo forces the region to send representatives to the capital to plead for their cause and get the necessary supplies. Sam, however, mistakenly suspects the mission of mercy to be a ruse, thinking that they might be planning a revolt. His paranoia fuels his imagination even further, and he makes the conclusion that the revolt may actually be funded and organized by someone privy to private details about his life, someone close to him. Sam becomes increasingly more paranoid and dangerous as a result, and although Chris believes this to be true, he still has faith that Sam can be a force for the good of his country if he remains in power. Achebe on the other hand becomes more and more outspoken in his newspaper editorials, openly questioning the president's motives and morality. Chris wisely counsels him to be more cautious and take a more moderate tone. The novel then shifts focus from the men, introducing their respective female partners. These women play crucial roles in the lives of the main characters. Elua is Achebe's girlfriend and mother of their child. She is not as well educated as her partner and is employed in a shop. Beatrice is Chris Oriko's fiancée. In contrast to Elua, she is an educated career woman. She currently holds office as an administrator for a local government unit. Beatrice also shares commentees with the three male characters. She is under Sam as a government employee and has been friends with Achebe since they were kids. She is privy to both the movements within the government and the media because of her ties with Chris and Achebe. This allows her to understand the situation from a unique vantage point, and she advises both Chris and Achebe that they have no relationship with either the populace or the land, preventing them from effectively tackling social problems effectively. Matters come to a head with Sam and Achebe when he instructs Chris to remove Achebe from his post as editor because Sam believes that Achebe is somehow involved in the rebellion being organized by the leaders of Amazon. Chris reacts to this command in a very uncharacteristic manner. Outright refusal because he knows Achebe better. Despite his refusal, Achebe is still fired. Relieved from his post, Achebe unwisely continues his outspoken tirade regarding Sam's regime. Government propagandists capitalize on a joke he has made about Sam issuing a command to cast new coins with his head on them. They twist this joke, asserting that Achebe wants to have the president decapitated, and Sam can no longer let this slide. Achebe is abducted late at night and assassinated by government forces. Achebe's assassination serves as a wake-up call for Chris. He now recognizes that his childhood friend Sam is now, for all intents and purposes, dead, and in his place is a power-hungry madman who will stop at nothing and no one to secure his power. Leveraging his ties within the international press community, he exposes Sam as a murderer and dictator, then goes underground. Chris manages to round up a ragtag bunch of sympathizers, including Emmanuel, a former student of Achebe. Together, they escape to Bassa, the state capital, and head to Amazon. Meanwhile, Sam has called for a manhunt. Chris is now on the government's most wanted list and orders that anyone caught assisting him or withholding information about him is to be arrested as well. En route to Abaza, Chris surveys the difficulty that Sam's despotic regime has brought to their nation. Immersed in the daily activities of his people, Cheese reconnects to his roots. Emmanuel on the other hand meets Adama, a beautiful co-ed studying at the nearby university. A drunken mob stops their bus and Chris learns that the people are celebrating the death of Sam. He is murdered and his administration deposed in yet another hostile political takeover. There is a mix of celebration and chaos on the streets, and as Chris tries to piece together events, Adama is abducted by a militiaman to be violated. He hurries to save her, but the soldier ends up killing him. Emmanuel, Adama, and the motley crew of survivors from the previous regime make their way back to Bassa to give Beatrice the tragic news of her husband-to-be's death. The novel ends with a grieving Beatrice as she holds a naming ceremony for Achebe and Elua's child. Elua had given birth after the tumultuous kidnapping and murder of her partner. Only men customarily perform the naming ceremony, but Beatrice accomplishes the rite anyway, symbolic, perhaps, of a true new beginning. The child is given the name, Amachina, which is ironically, a masculine name that means, may the path never close. Reference. Lauer, Caroline, Anthills of the Savannah Summary. Gradesaver, the 4th of July 2019. Web. The 17th of December 2022.